Too hot for TV.
Welcome back to Doctor Who Too Hot for TV. We are the podcast that looks at all things Doctor Who Extended Universe. And once again today, we've had another crossover with the Hamster Bookclub. So hopefully you've been over there, you've been listening to us talking about some old Quarky book. And now we've got two more Quark-related tales. So I've got the host of the aforementioned book club, Mr. Joe Ford, with me. Joe, hello.
Shall we destroy? Shall we destroy?
I think there was enough destruction on the other podcast, don't you?
Savaging, savaging.
Don't think there's much of that book left.
You know when in the Dominators there's just the 2 feet of the Quark left smoking? That's basically that book now.
It's lying there with some bowl down it.
And making his Too Hot for TV debut, it's only the Dominator apologist, the biggest fan of the Quarks. It's Mr. Frazer Gregory. Frazer, welcome.
Well, hello, and thank you very much for having me this evening.
It's wonderful to have you here, taking your Too Hot for TV virginity.
Can we call that his Dominator name? Apologist Frazer.
Yeah, I think so. Now, normally when I have a new guest, I jump into their history of fandom and stuff, but we're going to skip that this time, and you can come back another day without this guy, and we'll dive into that. That's when we do our Croton special or something like that.
Oh, God, yes. Let's do that. Get the Croton comics out.
Well,
I don't even know this man. Like, I could have learned some interesting things about him tonight.
Well, tough. You'll have to listen to his Library of Impossible Things, or
yeah,
something
or that episode of it's Hamster with a something that we did on Remembrance of the Daleks. I tell it all in that. It's fine.
There you go. You don't need me to probe him. There's been enough probing going on already.
Oh boy, that'll be me tonight. Thank you.
So we've been quarking our head off over on Hamster, and I thought I'd bring some more quarky goodness to Too Hot for TV, because who doesn't love a quark?
Mad people.
Exactly.
Fucking love the Quarks now.
Yeah. So we're going to look at one very old spin-off and one very new spin-off. The first of which is the TV comic strips that ran from August 68 to March 69 that featured the second Doctor and the Quarks. Now, there are other little strips out there, but this is a solid run of Quark mania. There's a couple of strips in between that didn't feature them, but who cares about them?
No, no one.
Now, I don't have any news from the time, but other releases was the 4th Doctor Who annual was published, and Fraser Hines released the pop single "Who's Doctor Who" on Major Minor Records.
Oh, do you want a little bit of that?
Go on.
Who is Doctor Who? Dun, 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 dun. Have you heard it?
I've heard it. It's a beautiful, beautiful
Just
song.
Terrible.
It sounds even worse when you do it.
Thank you.
And on TV at the time was the Dominators, the Mind Robber, the Invasion, the Crotons, the Seeds of Death, and the Space Pirates. What an exciting series that is. And just to know that we're experiencing something that was at the same time that the Space Pirates was broadcasting. And somebody find the Space Pirates for me. Please, God.
I am so used to hearing you say a load of stuff that came out at the time that was sort of, too hot for TV. To hear actual classic television stories being mentioned, that is a really exciting time to be alive.
Yeah, it happens rarely, and it's a time we'll never experience. We would have been sat down with a bowl of spam watching the Dominators for the first time while Grandma smoked some asbestos in the corner. That would have been our lives in the 60s. Yeah.
A bowl of spam.
That's what the 60s was
Yep.
like. Asbestos cigarettes, bowls of spam.
Cooking your spam on your 3-bar fire.
Exactly. And you bloody love it. Yeah.
And then man walked on the moon and it was never the same.
It all changed. Dad had come home from the pub with a leg of lamb that he'd bought, and he'd have had 6 pints of mild, and your mum had boiled the shit out of that lamb, and that was what you'd have for dinner.
Sorry to bring this back to Doctor Who, but we have mentioned this before, Fraser, haven't we? That we did go to the moon, realise how boring it was, and we went from the gleaming space cities of Dalkis in Doctor Who, before we went to the moon, to the boring old quarry farm in Colony in Space after we went to the moon. I mean, visions of the future just went downhill after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the amount of money Quarries received from the BBC went up considerably because everyone on the moon looks a lot like a quarry.
Thank God we got it right.
What did the quarries do with that money? I'm going to use this money to dig a hole.
Yeah, maybe. Or they all got incredibly rich.
Oh, I'm going to dig over there. That's what I'll do. Got some money for some digging. Yay!
You never see quarries anymore, you know. So all the quarry owners got rich and went, there's no money in stone. So we've spent all our BBC money.
How did we get here?
It was a tangent. So we're going to be talking about a run of 5 comic strips, which are called Invasion of the Quarks, The Killer Wasps, Jungle of Doom, Martha the Mechanical Housemaid, and The Duelists. Now, the first 2 of these were written by Noel Cook, and John Canning did the art on all of them. And then from the 3rd strip, John Canning also takes over as the writer.
Can I take you to task for a second?
Yes, you can.
Are you suggesting that these strips were written by somebody?
Yes, they absolutely were. They've all got the same plots.
They do.
I like the fact that after 2, they went, we better get rid of someone, get some new blood in, and someone that can spice this strip up a little bit. And that's as far as they get.
Every other panel is basically, run, Jamie, we must get back to the TARDIS.
I mean, people thought it was tiresome. Clara said, run, you clever boy, run. But I think they got it all from these comic strips.
I can't help but feel you're selling the plot of these strips very, very short.
Well, we'll dive into each story in a moment, and you can express what you love about these very rich, complex plots. But I just want to know, nobody's ever read these before, have they?
No.
This was a
revelation.
Absolutely.
An epiphany.
It's an age of Doctor Who that I'm fascinated with, and I would like to cover more of on the podcast, and I've tried, but a lot of the time people have got other things they just want to talk about. But I am fascinated with this era of Doctor Who, where there is no brand manager. There isn't even a consistent idea of what Doctor Who is. And I think that's how you end up with strips like these.
I mean, I think you'll find there is a consistent idea of what Doctor Who is, because he meets the Quarks one strip after another here. There's only Quarks in the universe at this point.
Now, I wonder how much of that is, obviously, we talk about people trying to find the new Daleks, but also perhaps the Daleks weren't available to them at that point. So
I'm going to suggest that maybe they did find the new Daleks here.
Yeah,
it was a huge success.
Exactly. We all remember Quarkmania. Quark tea towels, Quark bath soap, Quark bubble bath, Quark cigarettes.
I mean, I don't want to, I realise you're being mocking now, but I do have a Quark right here, a piece of Quark merchandise.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Does this run of comics, does it feel like the Troughton era?
No. In no way. I wasn't even sure it was Patrick Troughton from the pictures. It's some weird beaky scarecrow pretending to be Patrick Troughton.
Yeah, I think that's fair. What about you, Fraser? Is there anything of the Second Doctor's era there?
Yes, because I haven't read these strips before, but I have read the Dalek TV comic strips.
Yeah.
And it's very of a piece with that. I feel this feels very much like what the comic strips were doing at the time, which, like you say, it's just its own thing. It's just absolute freestyle and maverick.
Yeah.
Batshit craziness. You look at the annuals that were coming out around this time, sort of in here, and then into the 60s, the 70s, with the sort of like the fourth Doctor and third Doctor annuals. You'd look at those stories that were being put in those annuals, and they have got very little relationship with what's actually going on screen.
Yeah.
You know, it is just, you know, a load of staff writers going, right, okay, write me a Doctor Who story, and they're coming up with something which is phenomenally inventive and imaginative and out there as you can be when you're not constrained by Studio D in Nightgrove or a budget, or, you know.
Are you talking about these strips?
Oh, I love these. They're great.
Phenomenally imaginative, did you say?
Absolutely, yes.
I mean, simplistic, I would say. In no way do they resemble Patrick Troughton's
Right.
time on television.
No, because Patrick Troughton never actually fought giant wasps on television.
Shame.
Yeah, it's true. But it's big ideas in terms of
Yeah.
the world. So I get what you're saying there. But it's very much boy's own adventure. Like, I think that's what I pull from it. Like, this could be an Adam Adamant strip or an Avengers strip or something like that. But it's only the fact that they arrive in a TARDIS and this is somebody called Doctor Who that I think really makes you go, oh, that guy is dressed a bit like Patrick Troughton. So I guess this is Doctor Who.
But I don't want to shit all over these comics. Like, I had a wonderful time with them. It's probably my favourite Quark thing we've done for this Quark special. Yeah, but simplistic doesn't even cover it. Like, it is just one action set piece after another. There's no attempt at characterization. There's not even an attempt at a plot in any of these. It's just the idea: killer wasps, right? There's the wasps. Wasps in the underground base. Wasps killed. The end. You know.
Right, bear with us.
Oh. Please tell me the subtle nuances of that plot.
They've only got sort of half a page or later on 2 pages to tell these stories. Like
13 panels.
13 panels. And
To tell a story.
For a bunch of 6 or 7-year-olds as well in the 60s. These are not kids who are media literate at this point, you know. They're not looking at the works of Alan Moore and going, I really know what a comic can actually be.
If David Whittaker can write Doctor Who and an exciting adventure with the Daleks, yeah, a very sophisticated Doctor Who book in the 60s, yeah, and I know in the future I'll pull a strip out of my arse now, Beautiful Freak in the 8th Doctor line, which is a one-part comic strip, which is full of character, absolutely beautiful, emotive, wonderful, yeah? You absolutely could have done it in the 60s. They chose not to do it.
But they were also doing things like the Sensorites and Keys of Marinus, which I love, but, you know, very simple adventure stories for children. And I think this leans more in that direction.
It's comic strips.
Yeah.
It is literally just, you know, it's not a Doctor Who magazine comic strips, which are read by Doctor Who fans, grown-ups, essentially. This is Doctor Who strips in a comic for kids. Yeah, it's like having Dennis the Menace, you know, Bash Street Kids, you know, if you're lucky, you've got 2 pages across the B-note with the Bash Street Kids. That's how it was when I did it. So you've got, like I say, I've just counted there, and one of them, we've got 13 panels to tell that week's bit of the story. So it's just bash, 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 great, action, boom, boom, because that's what comic strips are. You know, no one wants to read a comic where, you know, 3 characters sit for 3 weeks talking about their feelings. I'm sorry, but... And
also, as you say, it's jobbing writers. So yeah. David Whittaker is someone trailblazing in a new medium of television. Comics have been around for a lot longer, and these are people who are churning out comics to appease children because it's their day job. They don't love Doctor Who. He sat there, chain-smoking, hitting the whiskey by lunchtime, just going, giant wasp seems like a good idea. Martha the Mechanical, Doctor Who for president, you know, all this stuff. Just gets thrown in there, and like,
to be
God
fair,
bless them.
You know, Martha the Mechanical Maid. I mean, that one, all my arguments go out the window. That plot is just absolutely incredible. We'll get there.
Well, let's get there.
But I do want to say again, like, you skip forward to John Pertwee's time and the single page strips they were doing in the Countdown comic. They were quite sophisticated. They were intelligent stories. You can do it. This is Doctor Who at its most anemic in terms of substance.
I think it's Doctor Who. It's its most simplistic, and I think that works for the kids of the 60s.
I mean, it worked for me.
Yeah, but I mean, you've got to argue that if they did it better with the John Pertwee strips, then for those strips to run, these guys had to walk in the first place.
But like, yeah, I don't want to feel like I'm being argumentative. Obviously, I am. But like, I don't like the terms. It's just a comic, and I don't like the terms. It's just comics for kids because I think kids deserve the best.
It's not just. It's what it is. It's not like, oh, this is just, so we'll just cheer. This is what they're doing. They have got, David Whittaker's got a book to write. So he writes a book. This guy's got a comic, so he's got to do a comic. The TV guys have got a TV show. And they've all got different constraints. They've all got different opportunities and different constraints and, different things that they need to do.
Constraints or choices?
Constraints.
There are constraints.
I mean, you can't have killer wasps in Patrick Troughton's era. You cannot have giant killer wasps. You can in a comic, but you cannot on screen. You can have it in a book, but but we're not writing new fiction at that point. We're only doing novelizations. We're not even doing them in the 60s. You've got the comics, and that is where the budget comes off. That is where all the constraints of a pokey little studio set come off, and you can have, big sprawling cities and, killer fucking wasps, man. Come on. Come on, wasps.
We're going to get to the wasps. Don't you worry. I think you raise a good point about it's just for kids and it's just a comic. And I think that would be a valid point a little bit later down the line. But I think at this point, certainly the BBC themselves, the David Whittakers, who was the script editor on the show, the Verity Lamberts, the Innes Lloyds, whoever, they're just going, well, that's just a comic strip. We don't care about that. It was Barry Letts who was the one, and Terence Dix, who started taking more of an interest in that extended media stuff and going, could you try and get the likenesses a bit better and perhaps don't do that? But at this point, I agree. It shouldn't be just those things, but it is just those things. And in the context of its time, I think
within those constraints, they're wonderful fun and they're colourful and they're ambitious in the ideas they're trying to present visually and all of that. But boy, oh boy, it's only going to take you 5 minutes to get through all 5 of these. You're going to read them quick.
What are you talking about? This took me months.
Oh, really?
He did it properly. He read one a week.
Yeah, exactly. Should we jump into the first story? Invasion of the Quarks.
Yes.
Does anybody want to tell me what Invasion of the Quarks is about in a sentence?
Ditching John and Gillian in the Zebedee University, because obviously they've decided they don't want to deal with John and Gillian anymore, and Jamie's quite popular on the telly. So a fortune teller goes to Doctor Who, you are going to face terrible, terrible danger. He's like, oh dear, I can't take John and Gillian into that danger. Right. To the Zebedee University, and I'm going to go and deal with it myself. Oh, Jamie, what are you doing here? Well, let's have an adventure.
No.
What?
No. So Doctor Who leaves John and Gillian at Zebedee University to get an education and keep them safe because obviously, fortune tellers.
He never goes back to them. He never goes back.
No. I love it. It's like, oh, you were going to come into danger, Doctor. Oh, that's never happened before. I best leave the companions behind and go and deal that myself. And so Doctor Who lands in a mysterious Scottish castle.
Ooh. Is it the future, though? I was a bit confused.
Well, it's hard to tell because...
Why is Jamie in the future?
It's certainly Jamie's future because we're skipping ahead again because obviously you're in a Scottish castle and the Quarks land in the castle and start invading. And Doctor Who has to run away, and Doctor Who falls down some stairs and is saved by a knight in shining armour. And who else is going to be a knight in shining armour in a Scottish castle? It's Jamie McCrimmon.
He was just on his way from seeing his mates at the local radar station.
He literally says that. Oh, I was just going to see my mate at the station. I was like, is that really Jamie?
Professor Quantrill.
And they've detected a quark ship in the atmosphere, haven't they?
Yes.
And all of a sudden, an evil death ray descends from the heavens and destroys the castle.
Yeah.
No, what we've missed before this bit is once Jamie, the knight in shining armour, has smashed the quark and saved the Doctor, they have to escape from the rest of the quarks by sliding down the banister of the castle.
That was the one panel of this I was familiar with. It was reprinted in a book somewhere, like the 60s or time frame. I just remember seeing it and going, "That looks like fun." Doctor Who's whooshing down a banister.
So they slide down the banister and hide from the Quarks in the torture chamber, and we know it's the torture chamber because it's got a sign outside.
Excuse me, there's a lot of signs in it. There's a secret base in one of them that says secret base. All right.
Yeah.
So then we'll have the
People
flashback.
were very literal in the 60s.
I mean, look, it worked for UNIT, top secret, keep out, and all that stuff.
Oh no, it was secret laboratory. That was it.
Yeah.
And
And the laboratory's spelt wrong, isn't it?
Yes.
If you look at it. But don't worry, Doctor Who nicks a quark saucer, doesn't he? And
He does.
Yes.
Destroys the quark fleet.
Is Doctor Who suicidal at this point? He's like, I'm going to get all these quark ships blasting at each other, and then we'll hopefully get away in the crossfire.
Well, that's the Doctor we've come to know and love. You can imagine Matt Smith doing that, couldn't you?
Yep.
Jamie buggers off with the Doctor again for his second round of adventures with him, and elsewhere, the Quarks are watching a huge army of them on a screen, like you might get the Daleks in the TV comic.
Well, I mean, can we talk about that just for a second? Because obviously the Dominators are no part of these stories. The Quarks now seem to be a race of robots all on their own with their own home planet and everything. And backstory that we're not really too sure about. But anyway, they now declare that Doctor Who is the enemy of all Quarks after this first story.
Yeah, which he is. And that they go on to seek their revenge with him throughout the rest of the stories.
Did you notice how much Doctor Who was a murderer in these scripts? Because at the end of this story, he blasts the whole castle to pieces and kills all the Quarks.
Yeah, I mean, Doctor Who is not a pacifist. It's always been my argument. But in these comic strips, he's a cold-blooded killer. No second chances, no first chances.
There's other times I'll mention in these as we go along.
The people behind the comics did want to get more in line with the TV show, which is why they ditched John and Gillian and get our good friend Jamie McCrimmon back from his natural habitat where he was left the 60s.
I mean, I will say, if the Doctor looks really hideous in the strip, and he does, Jamie looks very pretty. I must say, it's a lovely likeness of Fraser Hines.
Is it? It's a likeness of someone. I'm just not sure it's Fraser Hines.
You'll shag anything, Joe. Just a weird cartoon of Fraser Hines, and you're there.
Funny enough, from what I hear, so with Fraser Hines.
I would like to ask you, fine gentlemen, obviously, as we're now heading into the second story, if anyone knows where to find the growth drug, could you please let me know? Thank you very much.
I've just got one of those pumps.
Oh, fair.
There's no Dominators throughout these comic strips, though, are there? Like, do they work better? Did they work better? Do you think? Because they're just little killer robots like the Daleks.
Well, I mean, I think what's happening here is they are just Dalek replacements. This strip certainly, and Killer Wasps, you can just swap Quarks for Daleks, and nothing's amiss. I think obviously what's happening is the Quarks have been licensed out by the BBC behind Haseman and Lincoln's backs. The merchandise starts to happen. The Quarks are in strips and so on and so forth, and this is what causes the straw that brought the camel's back, basically, with these two writers falling out with the BBC and everything like that. But obviously the interesting point is that the strip is coming out as the Dominators is.
Yeah, so they're getting ahead of the curve there, aren't they? They're like, we've got something here.
The problem is obviously the writers have got no idea what the Quarks are.
Yeah, they're not just a Dalek replacement. Even the text is the same, like shaped text that they use for the Daleks.
It's exactly the same. So you've got
unreasonable expectations in the minds of the kids that are now going to watch the Dominators as to what the Quarks are going to get up to.
I don't imagine the kids are going to be that bothered, to be honest. I think the kids are just going to be like, oh, get in. There's robots on the telly. It's like robots on the telly. There's robots in the comic. Love me a robot.
It's a weird moment of brand synergy in the 60s, isn't it? To have the comic strip launch at the same time. But you make a good point, Fraser, saying they do not know what the Quarks are. So they're written as this Dalek replacement. And nobody's bothered to tell them, well, there's these creatures called the Dominators that they work for. And actually they're more of a servant race.
What they do know, though, is that the Quarks have a fucking awesome silhouette, especially the head, right? So that head looks amazing. When you've got an army of Quarks and you've got all those different heads next to each other, that's a terrific image.
Yeah.
If that head's popping up out of a tank, that's a wonderful image. Like, if they're on the move, they sort of do them askew as if they're dancing on the page. I mean, they just look amazing in the strip.
Yeah.
Having thwarted the Quarks' efforts this time, the Quarks seek their revenge. And what they think is like, right, we've got a huge fleet of spaceships, a huge fleet of Quarks. We've got a whole arsenal of weapons. We've taken over galaxies. We've fought wars. What's the best way to take revenge on the Doctor and Jamie? Should we get the household wasp and mutate it to a giant size?
Fuck yeah.
Yes. But we're going to... Unfortunately, they've got a weakness in that if they bang into girders, their stings fall off and they die.
That is a well-known weakness of wasps. Wasps can't sting metal.
It's true. You know, it's science. You can't fuck with science, Joe.
You can't. Wasps cannot sting metal.
Yeah.
What is amazing, though, on the planet Gand, you know, the place of terrible warfare that's occurred, you know, Doctor Who and Jamie soon emerge, attacked by a plague of killer wasps, and head down into a fabulous underground city.
Not before Doctor Who shoots some killer wasps, though, with
lots of killer wasps with howitzers.
Yes, it's just like, fuck these wasps. Die, wasp, die!
I think that's the line, actually.
Now, wasps can't sting metal, but they do use the wasps to kill quarks, which are made of what substance?
Metal.
But it's like bees, you know, the sting, but then they don't. You know, you just need one wasp per quark.
Maybe quarkanium that I imagine the quarks are made of.
Writers think the quarks are like the Daleks, and there's like a life form inside, because maybe the sting goes in and kills the life form inside.
Oh, interesting. That's giving the writers a lot of credit.
Yeah, indeed.
Doctor and Jamie run away when they get into the secret city that's abandoned. Fortunately, they happen to be in a scooter shop.
Yes.
A scooter factory. So they get on some scooters, run away.
Not just scooters, hover scooters.
Hover scooters.
And the Quarks are blasting at them the whole time. You know, like, Jamie, duck! Quarks are shooting at us. I mean,
they're on
you
the
want to
space
see
Vespers and they're getting
You just
away.
want to see that in 1960s Doctor Who TV. It would be so terrible, but wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, imagine trying to do that in a studio that is the size of your bedroom. As Fraser said, they've got no budget here, so they are going for it. They go and hide. The wasps break into the city, kill the Quarks. All the wasps die, and Doctor Who and Jamie fuck off, having done nothing but ran and hid.
That's all they ever do. That's all they ever do. Although I did
blast
notice
the wasps from the sky.
Oh yes, that's true.
Started a repeating motif in these scripts. There's me saying there's no sophistication to these. Of Doctor Who lands, faces a terrible enemy, and then faces another terrible enemy, and then by the end of the book, the end of the strip, sorry, the two enemies are facing each other, and Doctor Who runs back to the TARDIS. That happens about 3 times in these strips.
Yeah, this Doctor's really got a policy of non-interference. Like, the Time Lords would love him. I'm surprised they put him on trial on Gallifrey in the end, you know.
Non-interference and Wonga. He likes a bit of dollar too.
He does, but we'll
come to that. We'll come to that.
There's very little of the Troughton Doctor here, and, you know, Jamie might as well be John and Gillian as far as I'm concerned. He's not really adding much to the plot. Any thoughts on Jamie?
I mean, he doesn't even talk in any sort of cod Scots dialect either, does he?
I feel like there's an ock every now and then.
There's the odd ock.
Yeah, but it's not really, you know, what I wanted from Fraser Hines' Jamie, but there we go. Next, we go to the Jungle of Doom.
Just a word for these tiles. I mean, they're enticing, aren't they?
They are. And they tell you what you're going to get. There's a jungle, there's some doom, there's some killer wasps, there's an invasion.
You know, I'm not kidding. You know, you put Doctor Who and the killer wasps on a cover of a book, and it will sell.
Yeah. Russell T Davies would do an episode called that now.
Yeah. He did do an episode about a killer wasp.
He did. Yeah, that's very true.
He should have called it.
Yeah. Well, his inspiration was that enormous wasp on the Agatha Christie book. We know it was Sil.
Yeah, true.
Or was it this comic strip?
Can I ask you, gentlemen, why are we suddenly in black and white? The Jungles of Doom.
Budget cuts?
I don't know.
Presumably, you can't write and colour at the same time.
Yeah, oh, actually, that's a good point. This is where John Canning takes over both writing and art. Perhaps you're right, yeah. Or
Well.
they'd had a budget cut and they'd gone, lose the colour, and also, mate, you're no longer just drawing the stories, you're writing them, and we're paying you the same amount. You'll get an extra guinea a year if you're lucky.
I did miss the colour though, because one thing that is just so wonderful about the 60s is like the pop art. And when I say pop art, I mean the pictures pop, and those first two, the colours just scraped out the panels.
There was
And now
exploding quarks and everything.
it's a lot of scratchy lines now
Yeah.
in comparison.
Yeah, it feels a little bit more rushed. So what happens in the Jungle of Doom, guys?
One of my adversaries has planned our disaster. It has to be the Quarks, says Jamie.
Very true.
So the Quarks come to the jungle, obviously, after them, and suddenly a leopard emerges out of nowhere.
See,
what?
you're missing all the good bits here.
Oh,
So
sorry.
obviously, Doctor Who being a bit of a div, parks his TARDIS underneath a rock,
Oh, yeah.
which would be fine if there wasn't a big quark ship that is gonna blow that rock up and land all the rock in front of the
Fraser,
TARDIS.
you can't land on alien planets assuming that a Quark ship is just going to emerge out of nowhere.
You'd never go anywhere, would you?
No, I know.
No, but you can land and you go, oh, look at that rock, Doctor. It's like, oh no, that's fine, Jamie. Now what's going to happen with that? And what happens 2 panels later? A quark ship. Let's face it, if Jamie can point out the plot to you.
Yeah.
He should have had a look on the time scanner, shouldn't he? And then he would have known that.
Or spoken to that psychic he spoke to a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
Also, did we notice the Quarks have got a new ship? Previously, they had the same ships as in the Dominators, but here they've got a whole brand new ship.
And sort of like a battle fleet now as well.
Yeah.
They're upgraded.
Exactly. So they land on the planet, rocks fall, time to run. Meet a leopard, time to run.
Yeah.
And where do they end up?
Hang on.
Wait.
Hang on.
The Doctor Who goes, let's give this pet to the Quarks, and sets the leopard on the Quarks.
Sorry. How does Doctor Who set the leopard on the quarks?
I've forgotten.
He fires it off a branch of a tree. He literally, they climb up a tree to hide from the quarks, realise there's a leopard above them, so Doctor Who bends the branch and fires it directly into the middle of the quarks.
This Doctor Who of these 5 comic strips is like the greatest improviser Doctor Who's ever been.
Absolutely, yeah. He is winging it like nobody else. Like this is not the oncoming storm. This is just a very smart hustler.
I mean,
this is actually Dr. Tarzan as he and Jamie escape. Swinging on the vines.
My next line of my notes just says, attacking the Quarks with bulldozers. Poor Quarks.
Yeah.
Why did I say poor Quarks? Does he take a lot of them out?
Yeah, he does. Well, I mean, we've reached the building site of doom.
So, obviously, there's deforestation in the jungle of doom.
Yeah.
So
there's a political message here.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yep.
Go on. Give me the reading.
You shouldn't get rid of rainforests. It's bad.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, it's not deeper than that. It was the 60s.
As blunt as that rock that hit the TARDIS, yeah. But then, of course, in an amazing feat, improvising at his best, Doctor Who uses a bulldozer to attract a whole stampede of wild animals to attack all the Quark army.
Don't we meet a native very briefly as well?
Yes.
Who also looks a bit like a leopard.
Oh, I missed that
Yes.
bit.
Yes. So the
I
natives...
didn't pay attention when the Quarks weren't in it.
It does go a little bit Zulu as the natives stop chucking spears at the Doctor and Jamie, quite unfortunately.
But fortunately, he has obviously he's using a bulldozer, and what do bulldozers do? They
Move
can clear
rocks.
away rocks. Exactly. Very neat.
Have we seen an upward turn or a downward turn in the style since John Canning took over the whole range?
I think we're seeing a pirouette, maybe.
I think the first 2 strips are the best looking of the 5, but I think that the 4th strip is the funnest one to read. So it's kind of hit and miss.
I have to say that Jungle of Doom was my least favourite of all.
Yeah, mine too. And it felt like the longest.
It did, he was like, I'm going to tell a sprawling epic now I'm in charge, and actually he was saving the goods for the 4th strip.
Yeah.
So the fourth strip is called Martha, the Mechanical Housemaid.
The
Now,
classic of the 5.
yes, I mean, this, I had no idea what to expect, but fuck me.
I sent you a picture of Martha, didn't I?
Mhm.
Doctor Who is an inventor now.
Yeah, well, so Fraser, why don't you tell us a little bit about how the story begins?
So Doctor Who, bit of spare time on his hand, invents himself a little robot in his workshop. Martha, the mechanical housemaid.
Yeah.
She can vacuum the floor, she can put your slippers on, make your mugs of tea, all the rest of it. So what does Doctor Who decide to do with this wonderful invention? The only sensible thing any self-respecting Time Lord of Gallifrey would do, and he goes on Dragon's Den to flog it.
He goes to New York to a businessman who goes,
Sorry,
I'm gonna
he goes on
make you a
Shark
star.
Tank to
Yeah.
flog it.
I'm gonna put you on the national TV. You've got a deal. This is amazing. And the Martha even lights his cigarette.
It's like he's on QVC, the shopping channel,
It
isn't
is.
he? He goes, everyone should have a Martha in their home. She'll
Yeah.
vacuum, she'll make you tea. And then he goes, we've hit the big time, Jamie. You know, like they're absolute multi-millionaires at this point, Doctor Who and Jamie.
Yeah, but we do find out later he donates his money to charity, doesn't he?
That's right. He's also very benevolent.
The fact that Mr. Slattery, the aforementioned Dragon's Den tycoon, looks like Ian Levine cosplaying as the 11th Doctor is neither here nor there.
But all is not well because Doctor Who's worst enemy, the Quarks, are watching on a monitor somewhere and they go, oh, these are radio controlled. We can intercept the radio signal. And then basically, this is Terminator 30 years earlier, isn't it?
Sorry, there's a quark with a swagger stick.
Yeah, it's true.
They need to
The
show
quark
that
with a swagger stick.
they're
going,
very
"We went
angry."
into bed."
Yeah, I mean, we get one with a whip in the next one, but spoilers.
Do you hear that, Quickie?
The Marthas turn on everybody and basically decimate America.
That would be a wonderful cliffhanger, wouldn't it? You're just a little girl sitting in front of the TV. Mummy, what's Martha doing? Ah! We do go into some front rooms, though, don't we? And see them
it's
going
very
crazy.
Army of Ghosts.
Yeah.
It turns out Doctor Who hasn't just made a mechanical housemaid, he's made an invulnerable mechanical housemaid that no one can destroy, not even the United States Army.
There was a wonderful drawing that could only come out of the 60s, though, of the hypno ray, or whatever you want to call it, coming out of the Quark ship all the way to Earth to turn all the Marthas bad. It was gorgeous.
Wasn't it? But how does Doctor Who solve this problem? Because the Quarks suddenly come and invade, don't they?
Huh?
Well, first he has to jam the signal from the Quarks to the Marthas and turn the Marthas good again, so the Marthas can actually fix America.
The line is actually, Fraser, I have invented a beam even stronger than the Quarks beam.
Yeah. So Doctor Who makes America great again, doesn't he?
He does. And then, because obviously he's got an army now of invulnerable mechanical housemaids, he turns them onto the Quarks.
Ooh.
And we'll have a bit of a robot showdown.
I want to see this as directed by James Cameron, you know?
Yeah.
On the big screen. Marthas versus Quarks. It
It's
could
gonna
be
happen.
incredible.
And obviously, Doctor Who saves the day with his Marthas. And everybody in America is so happy. They thank the Doctor for saving them, despite the fact he caused it in the first place. So he runs for president.
We are so far removed from Doctor Who on the TV now.
What are you talking about? This is like Doctor Who's president of the world in the Capaldi era.
This is Moffat taking
I'm
notes.
not talking about that bullshit. Yes, but did you love at the end when they went, oh, look, it's our old pal Slattery. He's come to see us. And also, please note, you know, the repeated motif, 2 armies against each other, and then they scarper at the end.
Yeah.
It won't be the last time of the 5.
Yeah, I mean,
mutually assured destruction.
That's right.
And, you know, this could basically be Atmos, you know, if we want to take the Russ T. Davies era.
Like, if these comic strips are supposed to be mad and bad and crazy, yeah, this is the best of the bunch.
It is brilliant.
It is so wacky. I was just reading this going, no, like with each panel.
I had so much fun reading them, and we've still got one more to go.
Yep.
But this one really was everything I want from a comic strip of the time because it's so batshit crazy and so unlike Doctor Who. Like, if you told me that this writer had never seen Doctor Who and they just said he's a time traveler, goes on adventures, fights robots, that it would not surprise me.
My favourite bit is still, we've hit the big time, Jamie.
I know.
I just love that line.
Rubbing his hands together. Greedy, greedy Doctor Who. Anything else you want to say on the Martha story?
Yes, I'm baffled that Russ T Davies did not put this on the screen, just like Human Nature and Jubilee.
I mean, this would have made better TV than the Star Beast.
I know. And Doctor Who, as played by David Tennant, could make the Marthas in exactly the same shape as Martha, his companion. You know?
I'll tell you, if I had a robot that looked like Martha Jones, I'd never leave the house.
Well, no, it would sort of be a clunky dustbin version of her. But imagine
I'll take what
those.
I can guess. I'm a
Imagine
clunky
those
dustbin version of my former self.
fighting a whole race of CGI quarks. Oh, doesn't it make you hard?
So the duelists. Now, no explanation is given for the departure of Jamie McCrimmon, but he's gone.
Off to spend his Martha money.
Well, exactly. So what happens in the duelists? Because it's a bit of a change of tone here from the previous ones.
It's a very strange one, isn't it? So Doctor Who lands in the year 2044, apparently, on an Earth-like planet which has been colonised, and all the colonists have decided to live out a bit of a Bridgerton fantasy.
Yeah, it's
like
Regency rogues, he calls them, right?
Yeah, it's sort of like Westworld for Bridgerton fans, but you know, they take the worst of the society and they go hunting and all the rest of it, and they don't have any Jane Austen around or anything like that. So
they're hunting their own slaves on the first page.
Yeah, yes.
You know that they're bad.
Yeah, so the bunch of wrong'uns basically, and they capture Doctor Who and have some hijinks with him involving an axe in his hand and all the rest of it. And lo and behold, a quark pops up for absolutely fuck all reason.
No.
They make Doctor Who have a duel first of all.
No, the quark pops up at the end.
No. They're literally testing Doctor Who to see if he can live in their society and be like an upper classer like them. Are they?
Oh, yes, of course. But the quark, they need a cliffhanger, right? For that first
he
one.
Just emerges from a bush and goes, well, if they don't kill him, I'll be here waiting.
Yep, so for absolutely no reason, there's a quark.
It's wonderful.
Doctor Who gets into a duel, wins the duel, the quarks attack, one thing leads to another, the Regency guys get involved and decide that the funnest way, the best and most equitable way to solve this out is to have Doctor Who and the Quark have a death match with whips.
Wonderful.
Lo and behold, on an iron girder, is it above a fire? It is, yes.
Yeah.
On an iron girder above a fire, Doctor Who and this Quark do go all Flash Gordon with the whips, fight to the death. The Quark whips the Doctor around the neck, but because the Quarks are a little bit clumsy on their feet, Doctor Who is able to knock it off.
You tug.
Yeah,
Tugged by a Quark. That's a different video, isn't it?
That's the title of the episode.
Doctor Who again does a bit of an Indiana Jones, swings on his whip through the window, finds a handily placed Quark ship, which he can then use to get back to his TARDIS, set the car alarm off or something to scare off all the horses, land in the TARDIS and cleanly bugger off.
It's very fast, the ending, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I was sort of following it, and then I was just like, he was like, right, I'm going to do this, do that, let's go. I'm gone.
He hasn't got the pace right at all. My favourite thing, though, is that the way they capture the Quark is by taking their fencing sword and just ramming it in the Quark's gun so it can't shoot.
It's what I do.
Yeah, fair. You know, because you're constantly fencing, aren't you?
With Quickie the Quark? Of course I am, yeah.
Well, yeah, true. Is Quickie come on this podcast too? I forgot to introduce him.
He's just here. Oh my God, he's got a whip. No, Quickie, stop! Quick, move on to the next thing.
Leave him alone, he's trying to grow a wasp.
That's true. Yeah. Oh, what's that? I'll have some of that growth joke. Thank you very much.
So look, there was 5 stories there. I think we've identified our favourite one. Does this do anything interesting with the Quarks? Does it move them on as characters, as threats in Doctor Who? Do they have the same effect as the Daleks or the Cybermen? Were we missing out on Quark Mania?
Yeah.
Good.
Absolutely.
Let's move on.
No.
I think
What I would say is I could read another 5 of these.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
just the Quarks turning up and, I don't know, being a big wasp or Martha the Maid or, the Toffs out in space and the Quarks just turn up, have a bit of a fight and go. I mean, they're great
100%.
fun.
100%. I mean, spoiler alert for anyone who's doing this backwards and not listening to the book club first, but that story didn't inspire me to read any more, whereas this one
Yeah.
really does. You look at this and you think, right, actually, so this is the Quarks, and I know what the Daleks take. What else? What other comics are like at the time? Have we got other things? Have we got Cybermen being batshit somewhere? Is the the Cyberman trying to defeat the Doctor with giant plants or something?
Yeah.
We've laughed and we've enjoyed.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I could spend a Sunday afternoon sat in a pub by myself reading all these comics and have a whale of a time.
Yeah.
A little spoiler for sort of our next conversation, but I was actually a little bit disappointed when the Quarks were subservient slaves of the Dominators again in the Big Finish story we're going to talk about, because I don't know, they're just fun as these. They're sort of like little kids, aren't they, going around plotting their revenge on Doctor Who at every turn.
Yeah.
The work is just another, pantheon. In the pantheon of Doctor Who villains, you can wheel them out. Who's he going to fight this week? Well, he's going to be the Daleks, and they're going to have a crap plan. And the Cybermen will come, and we'll get the Quarks, and they've got a different sort of dimension to, it is quite pettiness, isn't it? It's not sort of like we will destroy, we will exterminate, we will crush the lesser races. It's just like, oh, I'm gonna fuck him up because he.
Fuck you, Doctor Who. I'll get you next time.
Well, every single strip ended like that. There was one where they literally went, "The Quarks will try again." It's just like the Master, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
The worst thing they could possibly do with the Quarks, right? I don't know if you remember the Big Finish audio, the Juggernauts, and they took the Mechanoids. Such a brilliant thing in the chase, and they tried to give it a very sort of grotesque adult leaning and suggested there were mutated remains of people inside them, and it was the worst thing they could do with the Quarks would be to give that sort of a reading on it. I think they work as pulp 60s really fun robots.
Yep. Agreed.
Not robots.
Robots. Anything else we want to say on these comic strips, Fraser?
Go and read them. Everyone that hasn't, go find them, seek them down, hunt them down, eBay them, whatever. They are fantastic.
Absolutely. And you may find another version of the duelists out there, because a few years later they decide to reuse this comic strip, but obviously Doctor Who's Tom Baker by that point, so they just scribble over Patrick Troughton and make a rough approximation of Tom Baker, so we can come back and do the alternative universe version.
It's not going to take much, to be honest.
It's exactly the same. Everything's the same. It is the same strip. They just literally turn him into Tom Baker.
Give us a minute. I'll just add some curls and we're done.
Yeah. True.
As a peek into an alternative universe where absolutely nothing makes sense, this is perhaps the most fun you could possibly have with Doctor Who ever.
Indeed. So we must rate it. We must rate them all. Are they clangers? Are they bangers? Are they average meanders? Or are they all three?
Comfortably all three, but for Martha the Mechanical Maid, they are bangers.
Agreed.
Bangers.
What an adventure.
Too hot for TV.
So the next thing we're going to look at on our Quark-related adventure,
Quarkapalooza,
right down the other end of Doctor Who spin-offery, in that it came out in the last few months as we record this, which is absolutely bonkers because it's a bit too relevant for us, Who do you think we are? Radio Free Skaro? So, Dominant Species was a Big Finish audio from Big Finish Productions. It was written by John Dorney, directed by Nicholas Briggs, produced by David Richardson. It was released on the 3rd of September, 2024. Very recent indeed. News at the time. The war between the land and the sea had been announced at San Diego Comic-Con as the guest stars for that year's Christmas special, Joy to the World. And also the crossover everyone was waiting for, Doctor Who and Star Trek, was finally happening in a mobile game. And that was the news. What do we think about all that news? Wasn't the war between the land and the sea great? Because it'll probably be ages before this comes out.
This is how Too Hot for TV works. The scope of this podcast. I can't believe we've gone from the Space Pirates was broadcast in our first section to Joy to the
Comic-Con.
World was about to happen. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, you are doing a public service.
Yeah, I mean, this may be out just after Joy to the World was out, but I hope you all
You're not
enjoyed
going
it.
to watch that, are you?
I'm not watching it.
No.
So, what other merchandise was out at the time? Well, we had the 11th Doctor Novels Volume 3 on audiobook, as well as Destiny and the Daleks on audiobook from BBC Audio. The official annual 2025 was just released by BBC Children's Book, and 15 Doctors, 15 Stories was first published by the Penguin Group. Elsewhere from Big Finish, we had the Eternity Club 1, a Benny box set. The Daleks in Colour soundtrack was released by Silver Screen. Also from Big Finish, The Stuff of Legend was released by Big Finish, featuring the 8th Doctor and Charlie. The Great Beyond, featuring the 5th Doctor, Tegan, Nyssa and Adric. Torchwood, The Hollow Choir, and The War Master Part 3. So I've not heard anything there apart from The Stuff of Legend, which you and I, Joe, saw live.
And very exciting it was too.
Indeed. I'd love to experience the Eternity Club at some point because it's got Dravins in it.
That was Mark's favourite character in the Eternity Club. A hilarious performance from the woman playing the Dravin Queen. And just a nice, bold new adventure for Benny. They're doing like 3 or 4 sets, setting. She thinks it's an exclusive club, and it turns out to be a retirement house for old travellers.
Incredible.
It's really fun.
Excellent.
Too hot for TV.
Arriving on the planet Teleria, the Doctor, Harry and Naomi find the entire system conquered by the Dominators and the Quarks. They are soon embroiled in months of warfare and rebellion, as well as double-crossing freedom fighters and interfighting between the Dominators. With the Quarks eventually being turned on the Dominators, a former rebel turned Dominator agent, Kalo, does a suicide run to destroy the fleet. With their time on Teleria taking a toll on Harry and Naomi, the two decide to leave the TARDIS and return home.
Too hot for TV.
So I'm assuming nobody's heard this release from Big Finish before?
No.
Excellent. I mean, you would be hard pushed to listen to this twice, I imagine. No, do you know what? I'm not going to go into this cynically and slag it off, because I actually think this is a very serviceable bit of Doctor Who that knows exactly what it wants to do and who its target audience is. I think that Big Finish, in certain ranges, they're really pushing the boundaries and doing exciting stuff. This is trying to replicate 70s Doctor Who, tell the sort of stories, invoke the sort of atmosphere that 70s Doctor Who had for an audience of Doctor Who fans who perhaps aren't too into the new series and have certainly grown to like it less and less over the last few years for whatever. And they just want their meat and potatoes Doctor Who. And I think it does it very well. What say you, Frazer Gregory?
I enjoyed this. I thought it was good. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that. I think, I'm not like a massive Big Finish aficionado. I haven't listened to a great deal, which I think, sometimes does stand me in good stead, because a sense I get with other people, you've reeled off what they've released at the same time as this, and, it's probably took half the podcast. There's a sense that, people can get overwhelmed with Big Finish. They can get jaded, it's the same thing over and over again sort of feeling. So, I always come to these quite fresh and, ready to enjoy myself, and I generally do, possibly because I haven't, been, no, it's the same thing. But yeah, come back this, it was really good. Good fun. I got into the first part and I was thinking, this is kind of the same issues that the book's done, we're just telling the same story over again. There's Dominators and there's Quarks and there's holes in the ground, and then obviously at the end of part 1, they actually succeed. The plan works.
Yeah.
They blow the planet up. And then you skip forward a month and you have 2 episodes of what life is like under the boot of the Dominators. They're on the next planet, and all the characters are now slaves to the Dominators and trying to, live to survive in that. Resistance is afoot, and by the final episode, that's when the real rebellion takes place. But I thought that was a really strong idea. That idea of basically we've got three stories. You've got conquest, you've got resistance, and you've got rebellion, and we're kind of linking those together. So I thought the plot was really sound. I thought the the script was quite sound as well. The performances, I think, Tom Baker is clearly old.
1,000 years old by this point.
Yeah. Christopher Naylor did a very good job with Harry Sullivan. The writing of Harry was really good. The performance of Harry was really good, So yeah, it really worked for me. I would quite happily go back and have another listen to this one again.
What about you, Joe Ford? Because you consume a lot of Big Finish.
No, that's exactly who he was talking about. He was looking right at me.
No, it's not just you. It's there's a lot of other people out there who feel exactly the same about Big Finish, which are here on a regular basis.
But Joe, you do a podcast where you are listening to all of Big Finish all the way through from the start. You do instant finishes on not all the new releases, but quite a lot of them. You are immersed in the world of Big Finish, and you're immersed in the world of newer Big Finish as well, in a way that I pick and choose the odd release. And because of this podcast, the majority of Big Finish I listen to tend to be ones that people are like, do you remember this one from 15 years ago? So I perhaps don't have the same Big Finish fatigue as somebody like you might. So what were your
pickled in Briggs?
Yeah.
I mean, what you fail to understand is literally every time Big Finish release a advertisement for something new coming out, Mark and I are dancing around the living room. So I wouldn't say there's fatigue there at all. Just that when it's shit, I'll say it's shit, and they are frequently shit. However, this was not shit. I thought this was really, really fun, and there were two major MVPs of this production. And I'd normally say John Dorney, and I do think this was a very serviceable script that skipped along, but for him it was quite insubstantial. There wasn't the same sort of levels of character that he would normally put into it. The MVPs were Nicholas Briggs, the director, who has just got directing audio down to a fine art now, and how he manages to visualize orally a story. I could just see everything in this. And what this had that the comics that we've done and the book didn't have is the Quark sound effects and the Quark voices.
Yeah.
They're so evocative. And he has different actors doing them and does different modulations and the guns firing, and it just takes you back to the Dominators straight away. So I thought the production of this was phenomenally good. Jamie Robinson's in there doing the music, and he often does the music for the Fourth Doctor ones, and it meant this whole thing had momentum and energy and just skipped along. And we did 2 episodes and then 2 episodes, and when we listened to the first 2 episodes, I was like, oh, can we do the next 2? This is great fun.
I'm glad. I thought you'd shit on it. I don't know why, Joe. I just thought you would.
You clearly don't know me at all, do you? The other MVP I thought in this was Clive Wood, who played Dominator Draga, and he is having the best time of his life playing that evil son of a bitch. And a bit unlike, I think, Ronald Allen, who has got this sort of icy cold menace, he's a bit more charming than that, and he's got a bit more warmth in his voice. But fuck me, he's having the best time. And you know me, if there's someone hamming it up a bit, having the best time being an evil psychopath, I'm there.
Well, I think John Dorney, as you say, John Dorney usually writes more substantial Doctor Who scripts, and I think what he's gone here, and maybe he's been tasked with it, is you're writing for the Fourth Doctor, you're writing an era-specific sort of thing. Take a look at the Dominators. What can you do with those characters? And he's gone, I can't send them up. I can't write them down, and I can't write them up too much. So I just have to he sort of explores their society slightly more, but without ever trying to give them, like you say, do that thing with the mechanoids of going, well, inside the Quarks are twisted human beings, and the Dominators are actually idiots, and they're, controlled by a higher being who is playing some weird game. He's just gone, they are Dominators, they dominate. they say they've destroyed like conquered the 5 galaxies or something, the Dominators. Let's show them doing exactly that. They're brutal, they're simple, they do exactly what they say on the tin. And as you say, when you get to the end of episode 1 and all of a sudden the Dominators win, you're like, okay, great, we're into new territory. And it's Daleks' invasion of Earth, isn't it? It's the Dominators invade. How do we get out of this? And setting it over several months is a brilliant sort of way to tell that story.
I realised come episode 4, I was so invested in Dominator Draga, right? I think it might be a love affair. That the bit where he turned on his boss and murdered all the other Dominators.
Brilliant.
I punched the air with delight. I was like, I never saw that coming in a million years, you know?
Yeah. What do you think, Fraser, about the way the Dominators are handled?
Really good. In sort of comparison to the book review that we've done counter to this, it didn't feel like we were just getting, one little nerd's view of. So I was really sad.
Sorry, Nick
Walters.
Nick Walters.
There's 3 nerds on this call. Don't worry about it.
It didn't feel like you were getting like one fan's view of, what the Dominators were. It really did feel quite natural, that you would have little touches, things like, like one of them, he used to be your probationer, didn't he? It's kind of like this sort of Jedi Sith relationship where, you are in charge of them, and if they mess up, then it's your neck on the chopping block as well. There was a lot of just, how you would expect this society to work, a lot of backstabbing between them, well, I'm going to go above you and I'm going to be out for your job. And the whole thing played a lot. It was very reminiscent of sort of Nazi occupied France.
Yeah.
That's how I had a lot of that in my head. You can kind of imagine, it's not quite a low, but you can imagine sort of like, Draga in his chateau and scheming. It felt natural more than anything else. I was just going to pick Joe up on one thing, because Nick Briggs did let me down on this quite substantially, in as much as, why is he not doing the voices? He does the voice for every bloody thing else. You can't get a voice on television without
you
Nick Briggs
cut that man a
doing it.
break. If he does the voice for every monster, people whinge. If he doesn't, here's someone whinging. All right. It was quite refreshing, and he chose all women to do Quark's voice, and it gave them a really distinctive sound. It was inspired.
And they're all people doubling up, but it makes it sound like traditional Quarks. He's gone, I cannot do this seriously. If we're doing the Crotons, Briggs is straight in there, but he's recognised that those aren't the people. He shouldn't be doing that voice. What you were talking about, sort of being it sort of wartime France, I think there's the character of Kalo, who's sort of at the forefront of the story, and even though she's not the main character, she's somebody trying to survive. She betrays her own people, and it's that hope and desperation. And I really enjoyed her thing from sort of being Harry's mate to, at the end of episode 2 or 3, betraying her people to the Dominators, and then eventually her being betrayed by the Dominators, and she goes, I knew my family were dead, I just couldn't live within the hope. And then she goes on she has a redemption arc and goes on the suicide run. Something we've seen all before in many Doctor Who's and other things, but I just loved the way that was handled. Again, enough there to bring it slightly more up to date, but still could operate within like a 70s Doctor Who.
What I liked with that was you had the sort of various different sort of flavours, really, of the collaborator. Because there were, collaborators. You had the Doctor collaborating, the Doctor collaborating on the basis that he would collaborate to save more lives. If he maxed out the power that the Dominators got from thing, it would take longer for them to kill people, the planet would last longer, he would save lives. That was his way of collaborating. You had Kayla, who was very much forced into it by the threat of her family. It wasn't a case of, I'm going to betray you for the sake of it. It was sort of like, the Dominators are saying, well, do this or we will, kill your family. And then you have was it Nala?
Yeah.
The other one who, was absolutely so broken by her experience with the Dominators that she then betrayed her own people, as a way of just ending the whole thing, knowing that, it's probably going to end in my death, but, that at least is freedom for me. So those various different ways of exploring what it's like under the boot was really, really strong storytelling.
The thing about John Dorney as a writer, and he's somebody with so much creative juice. He's written over 100 big finishes now, and he's showing no signs at all of those creative juices running dry. I think he's playing with expectations of this story. So he does open the story very like the Dominators, and so you think you're just going to get all the normal cliches. And like you say, by the end of episode 1, the Dominators have won, a reversal. The end of episode whatever, she betrays them, a reversal. In episode 4, the Dominator turns on his own people, a reversal. And he just does that throughout the entire story. And it's not like massive twists that blow your mind, but it's just enough to keep you going. You know? So if this is a lot of running around with quarks and action, there's enough subtle turns in narrative to keep you going. And that isn't always the way with Monday Big Finish.
Yeah.
It's very cleverly plotted, I think, this.
Agreed. I keep coming back to that sort of nostalgia element. He is able to add in, he's using modern day plotting, but he's not going to give you a Stephen Moffat style twist because it wouldn't be true to this version of the show. And I know there are Tom Baker box sets that do that, but I think the memo here is make some 1970s Doctor Who with the Quarks, the Dominators, and make it fucking good. And that's what they do.
Can I put in a word as well for Naomi, who this is the first Naomi story that I've heard. This unit operative that's come along with Harry to on the Fourth Doctor's adventures. And I think it was such a clever idea because there's going to be obvious comparisons with Sarah and Harry, right? And both Elizabeth Slade and Nia Marta were certainly quite middle class, on screen together, both quite clipped. And she's got this wonderfully rough sort of Cockney accent. Every time she opened her mouth, I was beaming from ear to ear. And she talks in a really sort of rough brogue. And when you have scenes with her and Harry, just as like an audio contrast, it was such a great idea. But I just thought the actors had great chemistry as well. So when they make the choice at the end, and there's also this subtle sort of scenes of Harry going, you know what, I actually just want to go to a pub and have a drink and watch some cricket and all of this. And like, it's been fun, but when they leave at the end together, and I don't know if you know where they head off after this, but they're dropped into the wrong time period, as we discover at the end of the story, as Tom Baker attempts to take them home and fails miserably. And then Sylvester McCoy comes and picks them up in the future, and they go off on more jolly adventures, and they've already released some of those.
So, well, they started out in 2022. So I was just looking because I wasn't sure whether you knew too much about her, and I certainly didn't. I didn't know how Harry ended up back with the Fourth Doctor. I didn't know where Naomi came from, but it's quite interesting looking at the list of things. They've done this whole season with the Fourth Doctor over the whole of this year. But Naomi's been around in the unit box sets. She's been around with the Seventh Doctor.
They've been very popular releases as well. And I can see why, because I don't know what the actress's name is, but she's got a lot of personality. And I thought the character had a ton of agency and was just so competent within the story. The one thing I did learn about her in this was I want to hear more.
Yeah, I thought she was a great addition. And I really enjoyed Christopher Naylor as Harry. The only time I'd heard him before was I listened to the first episode of the Ark in Space thing they did, and I was just like, I'm not interested in this.
You didn't get that far into Once and Future, did you?
No.
When Harry turned up.
I think there's also a thing of whenever I hear somebody doing an impersonation or their own take on a character, it takes me about half a story to get into them. So if I've given up on a story halfway in or even a quarter of a way in, then I'm just not.
Did you think this was an impersonation?
No, he's
doing his own thing, isn't he?
Yeah. John Coleshaw does the impersonations, and I think that's why they give him the characters they do. It's why they've never given him a doctor. He's doing the brigadier in the 70s that can be the straight man or the foil, whereas here they need an actor who can invoke a memory of Harry, but do their own thing and, be upset and be, angry and all those things.
I think Harry's a really easy character to write for as well. He's very distinctive.
He's very sweet.
Yeah. But the way he talks, the way you talk about that sort of middle class tones and whatnot.
Top hoe? Oh,
Yeah,
really?
he's old girl,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. He's very distinctive. So I think that helps in as much as, you don't necessarily need to do a impersonation of Harry. You just kind of, find the voice, and a good script can then take you. Obviously I've listened to Once in Future. The Harry story in that was the Sixth Doctor one, where there's Harry and Lady Christina and Jackie Tyler. So yeah, obviously, those stories are very much sort of like an amuse-bouche of those characters in a way. It's you're getting a taster, a very sharp taster. This was very much more the main course, as it were.
Yeah.
Or the fish course, maybe. Like you say, you want to hear more. You're thinking, well, actually, this was actually, this is a really good turn. It really shows you what you can do with Harry when you don't just have him as this heel, which the Doctor is going to shout at in a cave, and all the rest of it. You give him a good story which plays to his strengths. He's a doctor, so he's in the Resistance, and he is the field medic, and all the release slaves are coming to him, and he's absolutely overworked, and he's got such that of humanity about him, trying to deal with that situation. Everyone else is going off and fighting, but he's the one mending people.
It's not just I want to leave. He actually has a reason as to why he's tired of this and wants to go home.
That really worked. That was a very natural, at the end, when you think actually we had between episode 1 and 2, we had a month. Between episodes 3 and 4, we've got another month, 2 months of, it's not fun and games. It's 2 months of absolute hard slog under the boots of the Dominators. Then, of course, he's just like, it's not like, oh, well, what about the Great Exhibition then, Doctor? It is actually, mate, I need a break. I need a pint. I need to watch the cricket. I need some me time.
Yeah, he's seen a lot of people die.
Yeah.
Lived in horrible circumstances. People go away to war and it takes a toll on them for the rest of their lives. It's all fun and games when you're on a planet for what feels like half a day, and it's all adrenaline and, oh, I nearly got killed, but I didn't. Oh, thank God we escaped. But he's been in a war zone for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine, given the age of the character, it's probably not the first time the character's been in a war zone, and when you think of the time he comes from.
Well, this is the thing, because this is an older Harry, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is, yeah. At least a few years.
Is it not like a substantially older Harry than...
No, because look at him on the covers. It's Ian Marter from the 70s. So it's still... No, it's an older Harry later, I think, with the Seventh Doctor.
Right.
Yeah, because I was a bit like, oh, where does this fit in the timeline of people, where's...
Because in the Once and Future one, they grey him up on the cover.
Because that's an older Harry. So so I was thinking, is that I was just kind of assuming, well, this must be the older Harry, because I know Big Finish did that. They brought him back, but he was like 20, 30 years after, and he had another run. And he says something in the script. He's like, "Oh, this is like second time lucky for me. There'll be a third time."
Right.
So I was kind of thinking this is the older, it's a substantially older version of Harry, which again, helps you when, it's not quite sounding exactly the same. Like I say, Tom Baker really sounds like a very old version of the Fourth Doctor.
Can we address that, though? Because, you know what? He does sound like an old man, because he is an old man.
He is an old man, yeah.
And that can't be helped. And I don't want them to young up his voice, because that would be utterly disrespectful to him as an actor. You may as well just get in an impersonator. So I think the only way you can judge it is he giving a good performance? Mm-hmm. Is he enjoying himself? In this story, yes. And yes. And they've given him a villain where he can say the name Draga all the time, and he's having a wonderful time saying that.
There's a thing for me, and I wonder whether this is a directorial thing, but also I understand it's quite difficult directing Tom, even in his later years. When he's the Doctor like this and he's speaking like, even though he's older, I'm getting the Doctor. Every now and then he slips into sort of...
Tom.
I would say slips into Little Britain Tom, where he's goes high pitched like that, but it's a low high pitched, and that's something that the Doctor wouldn't do. And That's what takes me out of it.
I can summarize it with one word. He goes, "Oh yes," or something like that, and it just isn't the Fourth Doctor on TV.
Yeah, absolutely. But I know even in the later ones, they're still reining him in to a certain extent. So it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to let him have these little flourishes, or you're going to just not do new Doctor Who with Tom Baker?
I would imagine that Nicholas Briggs is the one person that can direct Tom, because I think they have a very close friendship now.
Agreed.
So he is the perfect person, one, just because he's a talented director, but two, he can keep that bloody man under control a little bit.
But, this is the issue with all the older Doctors now. I think, Colin can really give a good version of himself. Peter Davison as well, but there's always those bits where you hear this is not
age.
that person, and you've got to deal with that, to be honest.
I'd rather have them old than not at all.
Yeah, you've got to kind of think, well, I need to tune into this now. I need to tune into the way this. For me, it's the cadence. It's not like the voice or anything. It's just the cadence is longer, which really speaks to me. But like I say, make it a you problem. Make it a you've got to tune into this. And
but I think I can get used to Tim Treloar playing the Third Doctor, who's giving his interpretation, and it doesn't quite sound like the Third Doctor. I can get into an impersonated Sarah Jane, an impersonated Harry. So why can't I get into accepting an older version of the Doctor? You just have to do it and accept that that's what it is. I didn't think twice when I was 10 years old and heard Paradise of Death and John Pertwee sounded like a pensioner in that,
You mean to say you've been interviewing me, Santa? I mean, in 30 years' time, when you're on season 58 of Too Hot for TV, we're all going to have to get used to your voice being old, aren't we?
I tell you what, I started Too Hot for TV nearly 5 years ago, and I sound a lot younger in the first couple of first episodes
do you?
than I do now. It's really weird to
hear
how I like. To me, I can hear like, wow, you sound like a young man. So imagine, as you say, imagine the series 58 of Too Hot for TV.
Do you know, I think both of you have given really smart readings on the darker aspects of this story, but I just don't think we should skip over the fact that this is just a bloody good time. And there's lots of set pieces with Quarks, shooting the shit out of people, and just lots of action and lots of great music. And I really do rate Big Finish these days less on whether they are a good quality product, more on did I have a great time with this?
Yeah.
I had a great time with this.
I keep talking about the nostalgia element of it. But when they launched the Tom Baker range and it was, it's Saturday tea time in 1976 all over again. Now, obviously, I wasn't around in 1976, but you listen to that first season and it didn't sound like Saturday tea time in 1976. This did. It took me almost to an era that I never was, and it's like it didn't take me to 76. It took me to 1991 watching Pyramids of Mars on video or Genesis of the Daleks and just experiencing this show for the first time and exploring it. And it was like somebody had found a missing episode from that era that conjured it all up, and I was just enthralled in the way that 10-year-old me was. So I was suitably impressed in that way.
At the same time, though, I do think it feels very modern as well.
I did think so.
You wouldn't get that whole, well, we'll have one episode and then we'll skip ahead a bit. It was always one episode leads into the next for that story.
Did you watch The Ark in 1967?
Yeah. No, very true. Like, I think that the modern influences were subtler because, again, they know their target audience is perhaps an older group of Doctor Who fans.
I think probably the most subtle modern thing was, we've got this concept of the Dominators have invaded this solar system, and the neighbouring solar systems, what are they doing about it? What are they...
Yeah.
It was kind of like, oh, well, the Dominators are defeated now, so now they'll all come in, and now they'll, all it needed really was, we will continue to supply weapons to the Resistance as long as we can afford to, and you're very, very modern in terms of Russia and Ukraine. For all we're saying, if
Dorney is a smart enough writer
Yeah.
to put in that subtly, not
very
obviously,
subtly. It was very subtle. It wasn't
It's not
so
a message,
subtle
is it?
that I missed
probably
it.
too hot for TV to make
Yeah.
a big point out of it, but certainly there was a flavour of that.
Yeah, it's
in there for me.
using the political influences of today to tell a
Yeah.
story, but it's not necessarily going, I want to make a big stand.
Yeah.
But it also has lots of scenes of Quarks firing their fabulous guns as well.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget what we're here for, guys. Let's talk about the fucking Quarks.
Come on now. What I will say is, like, you and I did Return to Telos for Too Hot for TV, and obviously I was very hard on that. I'm really pleased to say I actually think the Fourth Doctor adventures are there now, because I listened to a whole season with Anne Kelso, the sort of Syndicate Master Plan season, and I really enjoyed that. And I've listened to a couple of the Margaret ones with Neris Hughes. They were superb. This was really great as well. I think they're on a bit of a roll now, and it did take them about 5 series to get there. But I think that they're just delivering competent stuff now.
This makes me want to go and listen to more of the Tom Baker range. And I'm getting towards the end of this run of Too Hot for TV, where I can actually just listen to Doctor Who spin-offs for a bit of fun again, rather than going, I've got these 7 audios to get through. And I think the Tom Baker range will be one that I really dip into, the latter ones, and really like try and enjoy them. Which
Trust me when I say this, Dylan, I know your pain.
I did have to chuckle, though, that essentially the end result, the thing that finishes the story, with Kalo sacrificing herself, with sort of flying into the midst of the Dominator ships, did feel a little bit like the end of Invasion of the Quarks. I know she reprograms everything, but it's just her suicide run felt very much like the second Doctor.
Excuse me, I wouldn't put it past John Dorney to have read those comic strips and gone, we'll have a bit of that.
Very true.
A few killer wasps would have been amazing in this.
Yeah, that'll be the sequel. Yeah. Do we have much more we want to say on this one?
It's really good. It's really enjoyable. Surprised me, actually, because I thought a Dominator audio could be very pony, but it was just put together by very skillful people with great performances.
It's a page turner. It's the audio version of a page turner. You know, you want to keep going. You want to, what happens next? What happens next? What happens next? Keeps you on your toes and keeps you going.
I was somewhat cynical going in, but the name John Dorney usually means a stamp of quality, that you're going to get something really good. And I was surprised and excited, and I had a fantastic time.
The name Nicholas Briggs as the director excites me, because when I see that, I know I'm going to get a very polished production, and that's what I got here.
Indeed. So is it a clanger, a banger, or an average meander?
Oh, I'm going to say banger.
What a load of shit. No, it's a banger.
Excellent. And I will go banger too. Hooray.
Too hot for TV.
So, Fraser, to sort of sum up, like, we've done 3 Quark-related adventures, 2 of them featuring the Dominators. We're sort of 55 years on from the Dominators, a one-off Doctor Who story that was mocked quite heavily for a long time. And, there's still a lot of people that dislike it. Do we think there's more mileage in the Quarks and the Dominators?
Oh, absolutely. I know Candy Jarve milked it. I know, like I say, I haven't looked on TARDIS Wiki. They have got a few more Dominator books in their line. I think, John Dorney's just shown, after 61 years, we can still find a way of telling a really good story with this species. For all that, the Dominators, the story has been mocked, and the Quarks have been mocked and slated and whatnot. You'll struggle to find a more lasting villains, robots, monsters. It's such a shame that, LinkedIn and Hazement and the BBC had this big fall out, because they could have had Pertwee fighting up against the Quarks and the Dominators and the Master in season 8. It's
give
Joe,
me that.
Step back, the Quarks.
Yeah. Give me the Dominators landing in 70s/80s England and John Pertwee and Unit fighting them.
Yeah, imagine JNT's Dominators and Quarks in season 20
in Seville or somewhere like that.
Yeah, what was it? It's the Black
Guardian.
Hot
in here. I mean, honestly, you guys.
Imagine RTD or Moffat bringing them back in.
Oh,
You know,
The great CGI armies of Quarks.
and then Chris Chibnall getting a hold of them and doing his rework of that redesign.
and his version of classic monsters is always the best one.
Absolutely. You know,
I think it's easy to mock because we talk about these one-off monsters that one-off on the TV show, and there's the successful ones like the Zygons and the Crinoids that have been exploited in spin-off media to buggery, and actually sometimes to the detriment of those sort of races because the television stuff is so revered. And then there's the ones where the television stuff is less revered, but actually they've done more with them. But you look at the TARDIS wiki for the Quarks and the Dominators, and there's a hell of a lot of stuff now, only in the last few years. But you look at the Crotons and the Zarbi and stuff like that, there is a lot less stuff. And the Crotons is only a story or so away, and it's a Robert Holmes story. Why aren't there loads of Crotons appearing left, right, and centre in Big Finish? But there's just not, there's a couple of appearances. And I think it's because that story may be a B-movie story, but people look at them and go, these are people with killer robots who want to invade a planet, and you can always do a good alien invasion story.
Yep.
And why not use them from time to time?
That society, that, the race of the Dominators is ripe for exploration. Like I say, John Dorney's went to sort of, Nazi France with this. You could go that way. Candy Jar, I believe, once. In the next few books, look at sort of this Dominic Var going into the London underground gangster scene and, being a bit of a mafia type, so whether it's good or not, I don't know.
Who wrote that one, Fraser?
I have no idea.
Oh boy.
Like Dylan says, there's some names attached to some of these books, so whether the quality is there or not is another matter, but there's certainly the potential is there.
Absolutely. And I'll be there for more Dominator related stuff in the future. Joe Ford, have you got something to say?
I do, unbelievably. Well, firstly, I'm so pleased I met Frazer Gregory, because in his usual sort of charming and very erudite and intelligent way, made me realise all of the hidden gems that are there in the Dominators on TV. And then I'm so pleased I met Dylan Reese in his charming and erudite and intelligent way, suggested that I look at the Dominators and the Quarks in 3 different medias, as a book, as a comic strip, and now as an audio. And they've really got legs. These ideas have legs, and they work in each. And I wouldn't write off. I mean, I would write off that book. It was terrible. But I wouldn't write off the Dominators and the Quarks in prose, because I think they could be done very skillfully if the right writer took on the right ideas. So I'm just really delighted that something I really was hard on. How many did I give it on Doco Reviews, Fraser? Was it a 1? 1 out of 10. Yeah. Now I just think there's huge potential, and I can't wait to see more.
Excellent. Well, maybe we'll be back at some point to look at some more adventures of the Quarks.
Excuse me a second, Dylan. What's that? Oh, he says, can you please cover the time when they invaded Gallifrey, please? That was their finest hour.
Yes, okay, we'll do that. And what's that unit box set where the Quarks are in it?
Oh, yes. He said he almost tried to take off Kate Lethbridge-Stewart's head, but failed. That's why he's living here now.
Excellent. So, Fraser, if people want to find you on the internet, where can they find you?
Well, when I'm not, skulking around Dominator ships trying to control Quarks, you can find me on Twitter at Felix Fraser, Fraser with a Z, or just like Mr. Hines. I'm also on Blue Sky now. I'm trying to do a bit more on there. Now that, Twitter is Musk's
a decaying husk.
Yeah. So you'll find us on Blue Sky is the same. Podcast wise, there's a little known podcast called A Hamster with a Blunt Penknife, which I occasionally pop up on.
Is it about pets?
They're gonna mention.
He must love talking about hamsters. He's done over 80 episodes now.
Yeah, I mean the poor guy just has no one better to come on, I don't think, so it keeps getting me on. Likewise with Trap One, I'll be popping up on that. We'll be talking about Once and Future there, so we will be rounding off our Once and Future reviews with Coda, which potentially will be out by the time this one comes out, but if not, it'll be very shortly afterwards. And basically, as I will say, anyone that wants me to come on a podcast and talk about Doctor Who, I am more than happy to do that.
Excellent. And Joe Ford, if anybody doesn't know, who are you and where can they find you?
I mean, I'm mostly here these days, let's be honest. I'm popping up in your seasons more often these days. Where Fraser just said, a hamster with a blunt pen knife. Now just put Joe Ford in a podcast catcher, and honest to God, it will take you 5 years of your life to get through it all.
Very true. Next time, I'll be joined by Cy Hart, and we'll be talking about the adverts of Doctor Who. But until next time, I've been Dylan.
I've been Fraser.
And I've been Joe.
And this has been Doctor Who, Too Hot for TV.
Too hot for TV.
Too hard for TV.
Excellent.
Fun.
Thanks, guys. That was a lot of fun.
That
I'm
was
really
great fun.
glad. I thought I was going to have to fight you, Joe Ford, on the big finish. I really thought you'd dislike it. So
Underestimate me, didn't
I did.
Reece?
100%. Like, who would have thunk it?
I know all those lovely things I said about Nicholas Briggs as well.
I know. What
Yes.
have we done to you? We still need to do the good Nicholas Briggs story podcast, but
I'll say one thing, yeah. I am a man of integrity, right? If I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. And I'll say it either way. And I really like
That's
that.
very true.
What
That's
I'm going to
very
do, though, is edit those little snippets of you praising Nicholas Briggs into my podcast on the Dalek generation.
Yes, please. Yeah.